Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, August 28th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. Public safety was the dominant theme on the campaign trail today in the wake of yesterday's shocking shooting death of a 69-year-old woman in East Harlem, with Andrew Cuomo in particular trying to keep the focus on what he calls the dangerous policies of Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani. Our Bobby Cuza joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Errol. And Mamdani was at Al Sharpton's big march and rally today. He was actually the only candidate who was in attendance, but he also found himself on the defensive about his public safety policies.
Andrew Cuomo was in East Harlem on Thursday, lighting a candle for 69-year-old Robin Wright, who was shot and killed Wednesday in the crossfire of an unknown dispute. It was a chance to highlight his own public safety platform and to attack that of Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani.
We need to take action. We need 5,000 additional police officers. We don't need to defund the police. We don't need to disarm the police.
Cuomo has increasingly tried to tie Mamdani to the more extreme policy views of the Democratic Socialists of America, like closing prisons and ending penalties for misdemeanors.
My platform is not the same as National DSA or any DSA organization. My platform can be found at ZohranForNYC.com.
Mamdani, who on Thursday attended the Reverend Al Sharpton's March on Wall Street and was welcomed on stage by him, has kept his unrelenting focus on affordability. He's distanced himself from past statements, saying he will not defund the police and will enforce misdemeanors.
What Governor Cuomo knows is that this is a popular platform and he doesn't have one, so he tries to distract from it at every opportunity he has.
Mamdani has kept up the momentum when it comes to fundraising. Thursday, the city's campaign finance board awarded him more than $1.9 million in matching funds. Republican Curtis Sliwa raked in close to $1.4 million, followed by Cuomo and independent candidate Jim Walden. Mayor Eric Adams was once again denied funds because of a failure to provide requested information, the board said, and it's reason to believe his campaign violated the law. A spokesman for the Adams campaign, which is suing the finance board, said, quote, "We strongly believe that the mayor's rights must be treated fairly and equally, just as with every candidate in this race. Mayor Adams has followed all proper procedures, put everything in order under the legal process, and filed accordingly." As for Sliwa, he too has kept his focus on crime, though unlike the other candidates, he says he'd welcome President Trump sending National Guard troops to New York.
Our police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, said, no, we don't need any help. Of course we need help.
And on policing, Zohran Mamdani talks not only about the fact that he's not going to defund the police, but, you know, he says he's the one who could restore the ability for police to actually get back to doing their jobs, right, and not going domestic violence cases and people having mental health emergencies. He says by taking that away from police officers and giving it to this new Department of Community Safety, police officers won't be spending all this excess overtime doing those jobs, which he says is part of the reason that people are leaving the force in huge numbers.
Now, we don't know enough about this particular case that's being used by these candidates to talk about public safety to know whether or not 5,000 extra cops or, you know, National Guard troops would have prevented this poor woman from being killed yesterday.
Right, that's exactly right. I mean, it's hard to draw much larger conclusions. And then also, you know, a lot of times we'll see candidates take this one sort of anecdotal episode and use it as evidence of some larger crime wave. And of course, it's also difficult to make that kind of leap. So, you know, you saw Andrew Cuomo, who has repeatedly said crime is not down in the city the way that Mayor Adams has portrayed it. Crime is actually up. Of course, it depends on how you look at the numbers. But yeah, I think there's a lot of generalizations going on.
Right. Did Mamdani do his usual thing of pivoting back to his 4 or 5 affordability platforms?
Yes. I mean, he is so disciplined when it comes to messaging that even when he's confronted with these questions about defunding the police or any number of other DSA platforms, he always brings it back to affordability. He says that this is what I'm campaigning on, and this is what I want to be held accountable for by the voters, not these other issues that the DSA has put forward or that maybe he has made statements supportive of in the past. For him, it's again and again about affordability.
Okay, thanks, Bobby. Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams was in the Bronx this afternoon visiting the site of a deadly shooting on a basketball court in that borough. The visit comes as Adams has faced increased criticism from his City Hall rivals in recent days over violence in the Bronx. Our Ayanna Harry joins me now with more on that. Good evening, Ayanna.
Good evening, Errol. The mayor stood with the Bronx District Attorney and the Bronx Borough President, and they stood on that Baychester basketball court where police say gunmen opened fire over the weekend, killing one man. A 17-year-old girl was left with a gunshot wound to the face. The mayor visited that community, and he made a pledge saying more police officers will be deployed to the borough.
We have 1,000 new officers in the Bronx, and we're going to ensure that they are in the hot spots. We're going to be on the ground to talk with and partner with our crisis management team so they could identify some of the gang rivalries. We're going to reach out to the notable gang members, the shooters, the trigger pullers, and see if we can sit down around the table and talk about how do we end this violence.
Adams went on to say he wants to sit down with gangs that have had rivalries in the past and work and find ways to find solutions in hopes of ending cycles of retaliation. And the mayor acknowledged while there has been some real progress in terms of shootings across the city so far this year, there have also been some recent high-profile shootings that have really rattled many New Yorkers. Adams went on to say the answer isn't just in showing up after shootings, it's also in working towards gun violence prevention. And the mayor, he stopped by this Baychester basketball court as the issue of public safety has become center stage throughout the race for mayor this week. Earlier in the week, Curtis Sliwa said after shootings in the Bronx, he was there on the ground this weekend and he did not see Mayor Eric Adams. And of course, President Donald Trump has also raised his concerns about public safety in the city, saying he is now weighing sending the National Guard. This is an idea that the city and state have both pushed back on, Errol.
Yeah, it's remarkable to hear the mayor talk about sitting down with trigger pullers, with killers, with assassins. I can imagine that coming out of the mouth of one of his rivals and the mayor going crazy over that.
Well, I will say that I don't think that this is the first time that we've heard the mayor talk about this kind of approach, trying to, sit people down, get them, have conversations and work with them and talk through what's going on. And that's also part of the Cure Violence model that we have here in New York City, and several of those leaders were there in attendance in this park. So they're really focused on, having these conversations. When a shooting happens, oftentimes there could be a retaliation coming. So it's about finding who might be the person to retaliate, getting to them, speaking to them, talking to them down before there's another shooting.
It's really remarkable with this emphasis on public safety and on anti-crime planks in the platforms of these different candidates, that there have been at least some polls from a few months ago that suggested that crime, contrary to what we or anybody else might report, is not necessarily the #1 issue for a lot of voters.
And I think things have shifted maybe in the past 6-8 months or so. I think earlier on in this campaign cycle, it looked like that was going to be a much larger issue. And in spite of what we just talked about, whether crime is up or crime is down, and it's hard to sort of make sense of the statistics sometimes, we do know that, homicides and shootings are down if you're looking, over a period of months or years. And I don't think there have been quite the number of high-profile crimes in the news that have, tended to get people kind of spooked about crime and about being out on the streets and in the subways. So I think we've seen affordability become a much bigger issue. Obviously, that was what Zohran Mamdani ran on and won in June. And other, other issues that relate to the cost of living and housing cost. And I think those have really, taken front and center rather than the crime issue that maybe we were expecting.
But we have had some high-profile shootings just in the last few days. I mean, a grandmother on East Harlem just standing there with her walker. That shakes up people. A 17-year-old girl shot in the face in the Bronx. That rattles people. The mass shooting in Crown Heights at a lounge. So I do think while months ago we weren't having these kinds of incidents, now that we're having all of these shootings in the wake of the Midtown mass shooting, it is bringing this more into the conversation for New Yorkers.
Okay. Thank you, Ayanna. Thank you, Bobby. Before we head to break, I've got a programming note. Now you can watch Inside City Hall wherever you are. You can stream episodes live on the New York One YouTube channel or on demand on the Spectrum News app. We're going to take a short break, but we've got a packed show for you tonight. Coming up next, border czar Tom Homan says that the Trump administration will ramp up immigration enforcement here in the 5 boroughs. We'll bring you those details. Then I'm going to talk about the opposition to a proposed casino on Coney Island with a member of Coney Island, USA. And then later, two community leaders will join me to explain why they are protesting the demolition of a public housing complex in Chelsea. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
What do we have going on here?
Well, I heard you guys talking about online threats, so I built an internet for it.
We have Spectrum, so our internet blocks threats automatically.
Oh.
But the internet is full of trolls, so you keep a lookout.
On it.
If it's connected, it's protected. Spectrum Internet with advanced Wi-Fi.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. President Trump's border czar says that ramped-up immigration enforcement is coming to New York and other so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. The comments came as the White House is proceeding with a crackdown in Washington, D.C. and is eyeing major immigration actions in Chicago. Kevin Fry in our Washington, D.C. bureau joins us now with the latest. Good evening, Kevin.
Hey, good evening, Errol. And quite frankly, there are a lot of questions as to what exactly this will look like. He made it as part of a larger comment where he referenced a variety of cities that have really been in the bullseye, shall we say, for the White House for some time. We do know that Chicago seems to be the main focus, at least in the near future.
A new threat Thursday from White House border czar Tom Homan, putting so-called sanctuary jurisdictions on notice, warning of expanded immigration action after Labor Day.
You can see a ramp-up of operations in Chicago, absolutely. You're going to see a ramp-up of operations in New York. You're going to see a ramp-up of operations continue in L.A. And, you know, Portland, Seattle.
What exactly that will look like is unclear. The White House did not elaborate, and the press team for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security did not immediately respond to a request for comment. This is not the first time Homan threatened the Big Apple in such a way. Our Spectrum News team finding similar comments about New York just last month, and also last year.
We're going to flood the zones. The sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want.
If we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City.
Thursday's warning, though, follows President Donald Trump's controversial federal takeover of policing in Washington, D.C. this month, including the expansion of immigration enforcement there. And as the White House is reportedly eyeing a military base to support upcoming immigration operations in Chicago. In New York, Mayor Eric Adams' team indicated they were not provided a heads up about Homan's latest threat. The mayor has rebuffed past talk of surging the National Guard into the city and recently called for ICE to end arrest at the city's immigration courts.
Now, we also got a comment from Governor Kathy Hochul's office, a spokesperson saying, in part, that the governor has been clear New York State consistently works with federal law enforcement to crack down on gang members or violent criminals. But we will never support cruel actions that target those individuals who are contributing to society or that tear families apart. Errol?
So now, Kevin, contrary to what the White House keeps saying, crime is down, including violent crime, is down sharply in New York and Washington and Baltimore and Chicago and a number of other cities. Is that going to affect how any of this plays out?
I mean, that's kind of this, like, you know, two screens that we're looking at right here at the moment, Errol, that the White House is presenting this narrative that they are using as a justification for cracking down in various cities. Even as you mentioned, we have seen, for example, here in D.C., obviously crime ticking down in recent years. Like many other jurisdictions across the country, D.C. saw a swell in crime around the COVID pandemic, and things are starting to tick downward. Same could be said of New York City and elsewhere, but that doesn't necessarily seem to be impacting any of the thinking from the White House. The White House is very much narrowing in on this tough on crime narrative. We have seen this story before. Democrats have tried to figure out how to counteract that, even when the facts don't necessarily line up with the claims that the Republicans have been pushing.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of the facts, I mean, the White House seems to sort of conflate immigration enforcement with greater public safety, but the numbers don't necessarily lead in that direction either, right?
And that's kind of where we're kind of starting to see the White House kind of craft this narrative, as you just kind of hinted at, where we're combining the National Guard, we're combining ICE, which particularly here in D.C., we've seen this influx of the National Guard, but we've also kind of seen that as, at the same time, we have seen an influx of immigration, that almost the immigration has been kind of the byproduct or almost the desired outcome of the overall National Guard imposition.
All right, thanks very much, Kevin. Meanwhile, there is chaos at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The agency, which is charged with protecting public health, appears to be without a leader after the White House says that the president fired the director after less than a month on the job. All of this appears to be the result of a clash with the policies of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a vaccine skeptic. Spectrum News reporter Reuben Jones has the latest in this report.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is in crisis after its director was fired less than a month into the job.
The agency is in trouble, and we need to fix it, and we are fixing it, and it may be that some people should not be working there anymore.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. declined to say exactly why he sought the ouster of CDC Director Susan Menares, but it appeared to be the result of a clash over vaccines. During her confirmation hearing, Menares said this.
I think vaccines save lives. I think that we need to continue to support the promotion of utilization of vaccines.
Kennedy, on the other hand, is a vaccine skeptic who regularly sows doubt about their effectiveness and safety. On Wednesday, the Food and Drug Administration, which Kennedy overseas, approved new COVID vaccines, but made it harder for many Americans to access. An attorney representing Menares said she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and chose the public over serving a political agenda.
It's deeply worrying because it signals an intention to basically destroy the CDC. So I am more worried now than I have ever been about the health and security of the United States.
The push to force Menares out triggered the resignations of 4 top CDC officials, including the head of vaccines, who wrote, "I am unable to serve in an environment that treats CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that do not reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than to improve the public's health."
The resignation of all of those leaders at the same time is a vote of no confidence in the leadership of the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services.
Dr. Mandy Cohen was CDC director during President Joe Biden's last 2 years in office.
No one is claiming that CDC was a perfect agency. There were lessons to learn. There were folks I asked to leave the CDC in order to move us forward. But this is unprecedented.
Now, the Republican chair of the Senate Health Committee, Bill Cassidy, is calling on the COVID vaccine committee to indefinitely postpone its September meeting, saying any recommendations from the committee should be rejected, given the turmoil in CDC leadership. In Washington, Ruben Jones, Spectrum News.
We are going to take a short break now. When we come back, a former immigration judge says that the system is being set up to fail under the Trump administration. We'll explain in 2 minutes. Stay with us. This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively on Spectrum.
We chose Spectrum Business because every second matters in our operation. We need a network that can move as quickly as we need to.
We are a takeout restaurant, half our business is online. So we needed something dependable, reliable, with great service.
The state-of-the-art facility depends on a state-of-the-art network to support classroom engagement.
Join the network made for business with solutions made for every size. Visit spectrum.com/made-for-business to get started.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time. And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan. Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first, stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. An immigration judge fired by the Trump administration says that she fears the court system is being set up to fail. This comes as the union representing immigration judges says that close to 15% of them have accepted buyouts or not been renewed or been fired by the Trump administration. New York One's Eric Feldman got a rare insight into these courtrooms around America and has more in this report.
New York City has become one of the epicenters for the debate that has captured the country. Immigration and the rise in deportations.
I'll say it again, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals.
But the voices we rarely hear from, the hundreds of people hired to decide the nearly 4 million pending immigration cases, the judges.
It's been pretty brutal since January.
Until a few weeks ago, Jennifer Payton was the supervisory judge for Chicago's immigration courts.
I don't know why I was fired, but I do know why I wasn't fired. I wasn't fired for cause.
She got an email while she was on vacation July 3rd that she was done. The Department of Justice told New York One it does not discuss personnel matters. In September 2024, the total number of immigration judges was 735, according to the federal government. This chart from the Department of Justice indicates this summer there were 685 judges, but that number may actually be significantly lower. There are only 608 judges with active online hearing rooms, which Payton says is a requirement for judges. And the National Association of Immigration Judges says it has tracked more than 100 who have either left or been let go since President Trump's inauguration.
If you have a 3.8 million backlog, should you fire 100 judges since January?
Another former immigration judge in the Northeast who was fired this year spoke to New York One in a phone call, but asked us not to use her name as she feared additional professional consequences. She said her backlog of hearings in recent months had gone from 1 month long to as far as 2027. According to a breakdown from the American Immigration Council, the recently passed federal budget bill provides $170 billion in additional funding to immigration and border enforcement. Funding for detention capacity, border wall and checkpoint upgrades, and enforcement and removal account for $126.5 billion, or about 75%. For prosecutions of non-citizens, including for immigration judges, $3.3 billion, or just under 2%.
Well, what does that tell you about the importance that this administration places on the judges hearing these applications?
That's part of the problem. The number of pending immigration cases hasn't helped either. Federal data collected by the organization TRAC indicates the backlog has been increasing substantially each of the last 3 presidents. It went from just over 344,000 to 500,000 during President Obama's second term, up to 1.26 million at the end of the first Trump administration, and up to 3.7 million by the end of the Biden presidency. So a bigger backlog, fewer judges, and more enforcement is making it harder in the courts, according to former judges New York One is consulted with. And while the budget bill allows for the number of judges to go up to 800, it's not clear how quickly judges will be hired, a process that can take months, even a year, according to a former immigration judge. We reached out to the Department of Justice, but they declined to comment on that. Eric Feldman, New York One.
It is time for a break. Coming up, hundreds of people came out earlier this week to voice their support or concerns for a proposed casino on Coney Island. I'll speak with a member of the opposition in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
Watch this. I can make it hotter, I can make it colder. Hotter, colder from my phone. Smart birdhouse. Even the birds have Spectrum Wi-Fi. Who likes treats? You do. That's right, yes you do. Very impressive, son. And one more. Nice.
Can I change colors?
Launch party mode. Yeah.
It's all about connecting with the fastest, most reliable internet from Spectrum.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning our focus to the ongoing casino application process. 8 different casino proposals are vying for 3 licenses that will be granted across the downstate area. One of the proposals would be located on Coney Island.
We got teenagers walking from Lincoln High School and from 303, and I'm feeling like this is getting a little bit weird to me. I'm feeling weird energy, and I feel like my children are being put on the line.
I'd rather deal with my people wanting to come to Coney Island instead of what we have now, where people can't make a living in the winter.
Earlier this week, hundreds of Brooklynites came out for the first public hearing on the plan, which includes a $3.4 billion investment The developer, Thor Equities, says that the casino will create 4,500 permanent jobs and more than 4,000 construction jobs along the way, which supporters were in favor of. But other residents have expressed concerns about what this would all bring to the community. Joining me now to talk about those concerns is Adam Rinn. He's artistic director of Coney Island, USA. That's the nonprofit that produces the annual world-renowned Mermaid Parade. Welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Hey, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Coney Island's been an entertainment center since the early 1900s. Do you want to see that change, or are you saying this is not the right kind of entertainment?
Well, we can certainly keep it as an entertainment center as it's been and as it continues to be, just without a casino. Casino is just the wrong entertainment for the neighborhood.
And what is it about it that causes a problem, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of different factors. It's like a kraken, you know, and it's got just different tentacles that are going to grab on. We can talk about traffic. Coney Island is a peninsula, and what they're looking to do is bring an influx of people to this entertainment district when you have residents all around the area, residents who are on the west end of Coney Island who will not be able to get out of Coney Island. You've got emergency vehicles that won't be able to get into Coney Island. They're talking, it's a 24-hour project here, and they're talking about thousands upon thousands of cars that are going to, cars, trucks, and buses that are going to be clogging up the streets.
Okay, right. It's not like the Belt Parkway needs any more traffic, that's for sure. Let's take a look at the rendering, just so people can get a sense of what's being proposed here by Thor Equities. The Wonder Wheel, if you put up the graphic. Yeah, so you see the Wonder Wheel there, and off to the left you can see the Cyclone, so just for perspective. So that looks like a pretty tall 40-story hotel and convention center. You got a 20-story casino next to that, and then over to the right, another casino about 16 stories. So those are big masses. Those are pretty big for Coney Island.
Now,
that's a concern.
On that rendering, that little blip that is sort of the dimple on the back wall of the casino, that's my organization. So it's literally engulfed. And as an organization, the resident arts organization within Coney Island, as you said, we run the Mermaid Parade, we've got the Coney Island Museum, and we produce the world-famous Coney Island Circus sideshow. Should this casino actually go through, our business is done.
Well, not necessarily, right? I mean, they've talked about a $200 million community trust, right? A big fund to sort of help do different things. Have you been part of those discussions?
No.
Well, I mean, I would think whoever was a part of it could say, hey, we got to keep the parade.
But if they cared, wouldn't they talk to me? But they didn't. So that ends that. We wouldn't survive the construction. I mean, think about this. We would be the only business on the south side of Surf Avenue from Stillwell Avenue to Jones Walk, surrounded by chain link fences, heavy machinery, construction, cinder blocks, porta potties. Who's coming in?
Right. Okay. So there's certainly going to be some cost to get any of these things built, right? I mean, we just had a conversation. We've had a lot of different conversations with a lot of different places about development and about the displacement and the construction phase. But then let's assume that they could do that without seriously disrupting your organization. Is there something about the nature of a casino as opposed to, you know, an arts or a sports venue that you think is a problem?
Without a doubt. I mean, think about it. A casino is adult entertainment. Coney Island is the people's playground and has been known as the people's playground for over 100 years. There are other people besides adults. You've got kids. Casinos are predatory. At nature, they are predatory. And the idea that you're going to take people who are spending their hard-earned money, whether it's Social Security money, whether it's salaries, and dumping it into a casino, not cool.
Yeah, no, problem gamblers, definitely it is going to be a problem for them, no question about that. What would you say if they're promising, you know, 4,500 permanent jobs, 4,000 temporary construction jobs? What would you say to somebody in the area who says, like, look, Adam, I want a job?
I would say, first of all, there are jobs available right now. South Brooklyn Hospital has well over 100 jobs posted at the moment. The city is offering jobs. I mean, there's advertisements all over the place for city jobs. Beyond that, if you look at the casino's application, it says specifically they are going to give less than 200, I believe the exact number is 186 full-time jobs to Coney Island residents. That is a fraction of a percentage point that would increase, or decrease rather, the level of unemployment. So we're talking peanuts here.
Well, yeah, they're probably talking about what they can guarantee, because they can't limit job availability to like the local zip code or the local community board, but they can sort of make special outreach and make sure that everybody in the area knows that they can apply for the job.
But again, think about it now. There's been zero job training. So if they're promising construction jobs, trade jobs, you have to be in the union. You can't just walk into a job like that. They've offered nothing.
Who are the local leaders that are for and against this proposal?
Well, at this point, it's a little fuzzy because the Community Advisory Committee comprised of 6 people, 6 electeds. So you have the governor, the mayor, the assembly person, the senator, the city council, and the borough president, yes, in no specific order. Right. We know for a fact that Assemblyman Alec Brooke Krasny has come out with a hard no. Okay. But the remaining 5 are listening to the conversations and listening to the debates, and we're hoping that they come out against the casino.
Is there any part of you that wonders if, you look up a year or 2 from now and there's like all kinds of great stuff happening over in Queens or in Manhattan because a casino proposal was approved there?
Again, those neighborhoods aren't my business. It would be, obviously, they're going to be allotting 3 licenses. Whether or not it goes to Coney Island, whether it goes to, a maximum of 3, I can't say. I mean, I'm sure that there are going to be great things going on everywhere. There are currently great things going on everywhere. But there are also great things going on in Coney Island at the moment.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. You're a businessman in the area. You don't like this proposal, but would you like anybody to come in with, $2 or $3 or $4 billion to invest in the area?
Oh, absolutely. And the way that they can do that is water parks, is indoor entertainments. They're saying that Coney Island is not year-round. Okay, I mean, Luna Park remains open until January and opens up in March. So we're talking, 2 or 3 months for repairs and whatnot, and it's reopened.
I don't go there after Labor Day. I mean, I think of it as a summer venue.
Well, listen, thanks to climate change, summers are getting longer now. So
okay, fair enough.
That's another story.
Best of luck, you and your neighbors. I guess we'll sort all of this out, and we'll be watching from here in Chelsea. Good to see you.
Great seeing you. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break now. When we come back, a city school that has already banned cell phones says that it has been a positive experience thus far. New York One spoke with the principal, and we'll bring you the details in a report ahead. Stay with us.
If it's the theater you love, then we've got just the ticket. On Stage is your all-access pass to Broadway, off-Broadway, and the best live entertainment in the city. The interviews and backstage exclusives. All that's made On Stage the go-to source for entertainment for over 20 years. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for On Stage. Also available on the Spectrum News app. I'll see you at the theater. Exclusively on Spectrum.
I'm kind of a deal hunter. I like to make sure we got the best deal.
We used the Spectrum savings calculator before. I learned that since we're existing Spectrum Internet customers, we get a mobile line for a year.
Having a line for a year would be amazing. I looked at you and I said, how is the savings so substantial?
Switch and save with one mobile line included with your internet service. Backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep you connected.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today.
milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The first day of school is 1 week from today, and it will be the first day that public schools have to deal with a new state law that bans the use of smartphones on school grounds. But many schools already had some version of a ban in place. And New York One education reporter Jillian Jorgensen took a look at how one Manhattan high school has already been collecting phones and the positive results that they saw among students.
Last September, the Urban Assembly Gateway School of Technology started collecting smartphones at the start of the school day.
They line up outside, and they each have a number that corresponds to the number of this pouch. And so they line up by grade, they give us their number, they get the pouch, they put their cell phone in, and they put it in the bin.
The pouch is nothing fancy, just some padded plastic. There's no magnetic lock, like those on popular Yonder pouches. But it's not needed, because the school hangs on to the phones all day. The pouches get sorted into plastic bins corresponding to a student's final class of the day, and then stored behind a locked door.
At the end of the day, they're distributed by classroom. And we've never lost a phone. I probably just jinxed myself.
With a new state law banning smartphones in schools now in effect, every school in the city will have to find ways to comply, whether it's collecting phones, storing them in lockers, or using devices like the Yonder pouch to make them inaccessible. It takes some adjusting to, but Principal Kristina Dvorakovsky says it's worth it.
It was one of the best decisions I ever made. The impact is everywhere. The impact is in the culture. The impact is on attendance. The impact is on grades.
Before she started collecting phones, students would be glued to them in the hallways and the cafeteria.
Now kids are talking to each other. The yard is packed with kids playing sports. The school feels alive. That's the best way I could explain it.
Of course, it wasn't immediately popular with students.
In the beginning, it was like kind of, I didn't want to do it. But then after a while, I started seeing the benefits. People started talking more, and it was okay, and like my phone was still safe.
The initial reaction was, I would say it's bad. Like everybody like, yo, why I don't have a phone? Like I want to use my phone.
Zamir Karimov says it took him a couple of weeks to get used to. He kept reaching for the phone he knew wasn't in his pocket.
It was a bit stressful because I felt like I'm a bit like unsafe. Like what if something will happen, and like what if I need to call my mom like right away? But you know, it turned out it went great. I really enjoyed it. I stayed more focused.
It was important to get parent buy-in, too. Dvorakovsky says her school makes sure to communicate whenever anything unusual, like a lockdown, happens, or even when things are normal.
We send a text message every morning to alert every parent what time their child entered the school building.
While there is a citywide policy outlining the basics, exemptions, and discipline, it's up to each individual school to set procedures for collecting and storing phones. The citywide policy wasn't adopted until late July, and the union representing principals has bristled at how little time it left individual schools to form their plans. Teachers Union President Michael Mulgrew says they're doing what they can to be ready.
Over the next couple of days, U of T will be training all of the representative chapter leaders from all the schools. All schools have a plan. The plan has to be disseminated, but it's a law.
The city has earmarked $25 million to help schools comply with the law. In Manhattan, Jillian Jorgensen, New York One.
It is time for a break. Coming up, 2 community leaders will join me to talk about concerns from residents of a public housing complex in Chelsea about the buildings that are being set for demolition. We'll talk it over in 2 minutes. Stay with us. Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum. Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Dozens of older New Yorkers living in a public housing complex here in Chelsea are fearful for their future after receiving a 90-day notice to move out of their building, which only houses senior citizens. The 90-day vacate orders were distributed as the city's public housing authority seeks to demolish and modernize multiple buildings from the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. The new facilities will serve residents of all ages, but will contain consecutive floors that are just for seniors. City officials say that more than 24 residents have already signed up to be moved into these units, which will keep them on the same Chelsea campus that they currently call home. Joining me now to talk more about concerns among some residents, we've got Renee Kitt, who is the Elliott Chelsea Houses Tenant Association president, and Layla Law-Gisico, a district leader in Assembly District 75, which includes Chelsea. Welcome to the program. Good to see both of you. We had reported on the votes, the conversations, the studies that all led up to the plan to replace and in some cases demolish buildings on the Fulton houses and Elliott Chelsea houses campuses. Has something gone wrong with that plan, or is this the plan that some people just didn't really like all along?
No. First, let's make a correction. There's never been a vote. It is a survey. Survey is not legally binding. According to Simon Kowitsky, Vice President of Portfolio Planning for the New York City Housing Authority, it was a temperature check. There has never been a vote.
Okay. So you never wanted this to happen in the first place, or you think that there should have been a vote, a different
There's never been a vote. Nobody's asked about a vote. It was a survey. Mm-hmm. So that's all there's ever been. I understand people keep saying that and keep thinking it, but if you look at the April 14th, 2024 on Community Board 4's website, you will see the word survey. You will not see the word vote. So it was a survey, not a vote.
Okay. And what does that mean to you?
And that means nobody asked. That means it was disguised. That means it took 11 months after this survey was completed to actually get the totals revealed. Mm-hmm. It means on May 20th, when the survey closed, May 26th, NYCHA's annual draft plan was marked. This is 6 days afterwards, disposition and demolition. Impossible.
But you know what? Here's what I don't want to have a discussion about process when what's important is the substance of it.
Right.
It sounds like you don't want there to be demolition and replacement of these buildings.
I don't want there to be demolition of the buildings. NYCHA has stated they are structurally sound. No one has told us when we look for the physical needs analysis done by Related/Essence what is wrong with the buildings. When you continuously ask a question and nobody answers it, we have a problem.
Okay. I mean, my understanding of it, and I went through probably more of these materials than I should have, is that many of these buildings are about as old as I am. They're like 60 plus years old. We've certainly covered and we've reported on this station about a lot of problems with busted elevators, leaky roofs, failing systems, which sounds about right for a building that's more than a century old. And the developer that is supposed to be trying to make some progress on it says it would be cheaper to demolish it and build something new. What's wrong with that?
Well, actually, it's wrong because it's not true. And that also has been clearly disclosed. Both NYCHA and Related have admitted that refurbishing the buildings would be cheaper. They believe it would be more economically profitable to them to actually demolish so that they can also develop market rate luxury apartments with, a fraction of affordable housing. And this is why they want to embark on this journey. But refurbishing will be cheaper to the admission of NYCHA and Related. And to Renee's point, we still have not seen an obsolescence report, which is a mandatory document that HUD requires to actually pursue demolition. So when we say that it would be cheaper, we really have to be careful because it is technically not accurate.
So you're saying the related companies that would be involved and have money on the line, NYCHA, which has a lot on the line and has a gigantic capital deficit that's in the billions of dollars, they just got the math wrong? They're just wasting money?
They didn't get the math wrong. They admitted, once again, it's on record at a community board meeting, they admitted that it would be cheaper and faster to refurbish the buildings. It is just that it would be more profitable to Related to their bottom line to embark on a demolition plan because then they would, profiteer from the vacant land that they would reclaim on which they would build luxury housing.
This is some of the most expensive land in the whole city,
Exactly.
as you know. You're saying they shouldn't do that?
I'm saying, exactly. I'm saying they shouldn't do that because this housing and this land is public land. And we strongly believe and support our neighbors that public land should be for the public good. These campuses, as much as, we want to think that, 50-year-old is old for a building. 60, okay, compared to Europe, the Sistine Chapel is still standing. No one is, thinking about demolishing it. Buildings in Europe are, century old.
Wait a minute. You don't live in public housing, right? I mean, I saw the article about how you live off campus in a very nice house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you live in public housing?
I used to, yes.
Yeah.
That's why it makes me mad when I see people who are living in mansions saying, oh, just go ahead for another 50 or 60 years with failing systems, leaky roofs, busted elevators, and dangerous conditions. Nobody seems to want that, right?
Of course nobody wants that. What we would like is comprehensive modernization, maintaining our Section 9 rights. That's what we would like. We would like not to be used as financialization for related properties.
If there was a vote that was acceptable to you, you would vote to keep things exactly as they are.
If the tenants make the decision they want to vote, then that's a decision the tenants make. The tenants never voted. They've never been spoken to. They haven't been allowed a decision. We have not been allowed a decision. These decisions have been made for us by other people. So that is really the problem.
You're saying there's no significant number of your fellow residents who wanted a rad-packed alternative to the current failed system of NYCHA?
We're not talking about saving NYCHA. Frankly, how should I say, the executives of NYCHA are real estate people. They view us as that. So frankly, we need to deal with people who see us as human beings, who see systems that need to be fixed, who thinks of you in a sense of humanity, not someone to make buck off of. That's what's happening.
Let me read a statement from the New York City Housing Authority. Since 2019, residents have helped to outline a plan that addresses over $900 million in mounting physical needs at Fulton and Elliott Chelsea, while maintaining their rights and protections and creating additional new affordable and mixed income homes on the campuses. The redevelopment plan delivers a more equitable living experience for NYCHA residents, inclusive of the modern amenities and accessibility features enjoyed by their neighbors in Chelsea. And they kind of go forward from there. Nearly every resident, 94% of households, will be able to remain in their existing apartments until their new homes are built, et cetera, et cetera. Are you saying you don't think that's true, or you just don't think it's a good idea?
Both. So let's be very honest here. It's not going to be equitable when you're reduced to 30% of the land you once lived on. So basically, you're taking everything for mixed income and, as I like to call it, luxury and affordable housing. So don't know what the income brackets of the people will come in. We're asking to be sacrificed. People are asking us, let's sacrifice for everybody else. Let NYCHA make money off us. Let's sacrifice for the other Chelsea community. We need to be very realistic here. They're going to reduce us into 3 buildings rather than according to our residents, because each building has its own address, its own locks. So that's actually 13 buildings, if you ask us residents, versus the 7 that people like to say it is. So that's what you're really saying. You can't say it's equitable when you're continuing urban renewal. That's not. It's an outright lie.
Okay. It sounds like this is moving toward a lawsuit, this being New York. Is that the plan?
Most likely, yes, it is. You know, I think that, you know, this plan is incredibly unequitable. It is done in a way that, you know, probably violates a number of rules and laws, and, you know, we will let lawyers, you know, fight it in court. But, you know, beyond that, I think that, you know, it is really time to understand what it is doing to public housing, generally speaking. If this is the model, and if you scale that up, what does it mean for public housing? And what does Rat Pack mean for public housing in New York City? Because these contracts are for 20 years. 20 years, as you know, is actually pretty fast. So are we putting the final nail in the public housing coffin in New York City? Because it is likely that after 20 years, these developers will no longer be interested in being partners. So what is going to happen?
Okay. Well, we are covering a lot of the existing Rat Pack process all over the city, and we'll certainly continue to cover it here because this is home for us right across the street. Thank you so much for coming in. We'll have to continue this conversation another time. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You've done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
We chose Spectrum Business because every second matters in our operation. We need a network that can move as quickly as we need to.
We've built some clientele that are not local, and live streaming is the way we connect.
We are a takeout restaurant. You order your food online, half our business is online. So we needed something dependable, reliable, with great service.
The state-of-the-art facility depends upon having a state-of-the-art network to support classroom engagement.
When we had our grand opening, we needed to be able to operate from day one with ease.
Join the network made for business with solutions made for